Hello, it's the end of 2025. I'm MBZ. I'm doing a top 10 video of the video games which came out in this year that existed. Now, as you'll notice, it's different from usual, because usually it's just like editing and there's pictures on the screen. And there might be some of that, I don't know, I haven't done it yet. But I've been sick. I've been extremely ill, murdered, one might say, by the outside, and I have not had any time, didn't write anything, didn't do anything regarding nothing for this entire thing. So I'm just going to talk at you now, and you're going to like it, okay? Alright, good. Number 10 is Split Fiction. It's a game that I have a lot of issues with, just from a narrative perspective. It doesn't make much sense or have really any compulsion to it whatsoever. I think it might be one of the worst written games I've ever played. I think Joseph Fares is honestly at his best when his characters don't talk. Like Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, but I think still my favourite of his oeuvre, mainly because he doesn't have dialogue, and I think that just makes it a lot better. I think Split Fiction gets on the list because at one point in time, I was a pinball and Bally was a pinball machine, and then we just had to pinball the pinball through the machine. And that was very good and stupid. And I think that is where games like It Takes Two and Split Fiction really come into the forefront. Is like in It Takes Two, I was grass that one time. And like, that's ridiculous. When a game can have that sense of nonsense about it and let the player engage with these fun systems and do silly things, I think ultimately it comes out to create something kind of cool. In a lot of ways, it is definitely better than his previous work in terms of, you know, the cooperative nature and some of the things you do, but I think just because it's kind of the same thing again, it doesn't land with as much impact. That said, I think the ending is kind of an all-timer. It's kind of mind-boggling what they do. I've not really seen any game do something like that before, and so I would say almost for the ending alone, the Split Fiction kind of has to be on this list, because we just sat there being dumbfounded about what the hell was going on. It was pretty fantastic. So yeah, Split Fiction is pretty good. Number 9 is Monster Hunter Wilds. I've never played a Monster Hunter. I mean, I've played like 17 demos of 17 Monster Hunter games over the years and have never understood it or really got it or knew why anyone cared about this at all. And then I got a code for Monster Hunter Wilds, just kind of out of the blue, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm playing this video game now. And I looked at some of the weapons and I picked a giant hammer, and here is the moment. I was at the training dummy, and the training dummy was just there to be hit, right? And so I got the hammer, and I just started hitting it. And I think within about 10 seconds, I realized what the fuck everyone had been talking about for 25 years. You see, there's like this really visceral feeling of hitting a thing that I think video games obviously is very good at, because there's a lot of things to hit in video games, but a big giant tortoise guy, and I have a hammer, and he has like a little scar on his head, and I'm just bonking it again and again. There is a joy, there's just a love you can have for hitting something with a big thing, and it's just very good. I think ultimately I would love to play more Monster Hunter Wilds. It's kind of a shit show on PC, like hasn't been fixed still. I put like 20 hours into it and had a good time just going through the story, fighting giant, weird, flying monsters everywhere, and eventually I just fell off, but I think I would love to come back, because just hitting things with a giant hammer, I think, is maybe one of the best feelings that exists in games. Number 8 is the 100 Line Last Defense Academy, a video game that I counterpicked in my fantasy league because I thought the 2Kyo Games was on a losing streak. Bad for me, but also good for me, because I like their games. So Ushikoshi Kodaka, they formed the studio years ago, and they've really not put out anything good. I mean, on their own, individually, Zero Escape and Danganronpa, two of my favorite series ever, just like masterpieces of mystery and narrative. And they come out with this, which basically takes Fire Emblem and shoves that into it as well. And suddenly you've got this tactical time travel mystery narrative wild fucking thing going on, and it's good. It's very good. I think for me, the pacing of a game like a Zero Escape or a Danganronpa slightly has an edge on 100 Line, just because there is a pacing to the courtroom drama and finding out individual mysteries along the way to the grand mystery, whereas I think 100 Line has a grand mystery and there aren't enough little bits to get there to push you along. So I do think the pacing, especially in that first 100 days, is not all the way there. But I was very shocked by how much I really engaged with the combat, the turn-based stuff and how satisfying it is, how cool it is to almost like try and single turn one of these bosses by taking one character and just like buffing them in 7 different ways in order to position yourself into a place where you can just eliminate everything and not have to worry about anyone else in the field. It's a game that I have only put 45 hours into, which for most games is it's a stupid thing to say, but there is so many endings and things and stuff happening with this that I definitely need to go back to and finish properly at some point in time. Number 7 is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. So on the podcast recently, we had this thing of like, you know, Thinky Boy, Movie Boy, Loopy Boy, look, all these different things that define games that Bally and I gravitate towards. Me being Movie Boy most of all, of course, which means games where you fucking jet around, you move, you're on a fucking skateboard or whatever the hell, you're just going neon white. Talk about games where speed is the key. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a game where you just run through levels and you hit people with a sword, and it feels fucking great. There is a kind of just visceral feeling of slicing through enemies, and especially when you have the big guys and you absorb the power and then you get the super mega hit and you do that on the big guys and then you get more from that guy and then you can use on another guy. There is just like a almost puzzle-like nature to defeating enemies in Ragebound, where they give you the tools necessary to take everyone out at speed, but it's about your thought process and your dexterity to do it and make sure that people all get split apart in like very equal fashion. Ninja Gaiden is like a more traditional arcade action game in a way that I wish maybe Shinobi were more like. I haven't played enough of Shinobi yet, but because it's a bit more Metroidvania, returny to area type of thing, feels less propulsive. I think propulsive is the word that kind of defines why Ragebound works for me. It has incredible pixel art, it just feels great. I just think it is a movie boy game by every definition and perfect for me in my brain. Number 6 is Nubbies Number Factory. Nubbies Number Factory is an interesting video game because it's £4 and it may give you more fun than something that is £200. Nubbies Number Factory is a game where you're a guy called Nubby, you're a ball actually, you've got a face, and you just throw yourself into a pit. And the pit is just pachinko but maths, where all the balls have numbers and then you hit them and they go down by half. So 4 goes to 2, 2 goes to 1, you get the deal. It's really good. I think there's lots of games where numbers go up and has become increasingly a genre that people like and just want to turn their brain off and not do anything. And of all of the ones that I've played, which is most, I feel like Nubby is the one that purely gets to the kind of idealized version of what this means, which is just, let's just get things to be stupid. That I think my highest score is undecillion. That's a number that I don't know what it even means or how it exists or how many zeros it has. But my score was 8 undecillion, and that just is stupid. The thing about Nubby is that Nubby is just great. This is shit. This whole thing is shit. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw Nubby on his Number Factory, I thought, this looks kind of ugly, kind of old. Then you play it and you realize that you're stupid. And that's what I realized. Nubby is love. Nubby is life. Everybody should be Nubby. Nubby is 2025's greatest achievement, and if you don't play Nubby, then I just don't know what to do with you. Number 5 is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I didn't think Donkey Kong would ever come back. I thought he was there to just chill and maybe be in a movie one time, maybe to just be in a theme park for a bit of brand recognition. But Nintendo, maybe they're getting some synergisticness going on here with Donkey Kong, because he's in Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's a video game where you punch things. I think Bonanza is good. I think it's really good. See, the thing about Bonanza is that you just punch things a lot, and there's 3 buttons for just punching. And so there is an inherent desire to punch, and so that's what you do. Level design, schmavel design, I mean, it's there, but you can punch it. I do think from like a pacing perspective, Odyssey has the advantage from a 10-hour playthrough. Like if you do Odyssey from the beginning through to the end, 10 hours, just play it all through, there's a beauteous line of just creativity and marvel and interesting mechanics and changing to different creatures and becoming them and all this different stuff. And while Donkey Kong does have some of that, you know, you got the little seed thing in the hotel area, and you got, you know, the floaty rocks in the fucking tropical land. I don't think it has that kind of punch, that kind of pizzazz, that kind of boom that Mario Odyssey has in terms of its first time playthrough. Doesn't mean it's worse, bad, wrong. It's great you punch things, as I've said. And I did enjoy it a lot, 100%. I got every fucking banana. Number 4 is Ooh. Ooh is one of those games where you look at it and you're like, ooh. Ooh is one of those games that is pure. There is a purity of design. There is a understanding. Like, this is why I think the Game Awards should have like a design category, because a game like Ooh fits so beautifully into a space that it cannot be fucking given voice actor of the year or fucking best graphics technical, you know? It's a game that is just about how its creator thinks about space and how that space can be manipulated and how you use these very minimal tools to solve puzzles that on the surface seem simple but in reality are mind-bending. It is unbelievable in its attention to detail, its minuscule little focus on the pixel, on every aspect of a room and how you are positioned and you can place your bombs and move your character. It is unbelievable. I think Ooh really is why I love video games. It's a game that is just about the purity of design, of understanding a space and using knowledge that you acquire through doing to then inform how you get through another area. It's the very definition of Metroidvania, where you take a thing from somewhere, apply it to your brain, and it works somewhere else on the map. It is incredible. Of all the games on this list, this is the one I most strongly recommend people check out. Number 3 is Hades 2. Hades 2 is a very interesting video game. It's a sequel from a studio who doesn't do sequels, and so inherently has something to prove. As someone for whom Hades is one of their favorite games ever made, I think Hades 2 obviously had a lot of challenges, and I think it meets most of them. In regards to how it feels and plays, it's immaculate. It is unbelievably smooth and filled with interesting weapons and boon combinations. The fact that there are 2 routes as opposed to just one, the way in which it is kind of musically structured, the fucking boss with Scylla, the first time you enter that room and she starts singing at you is a fucking all-timer moment. Equally, I do think Hades 2 kind of falls down narratively. Ending didn't quite hit where I think a lot of people wanted it to, and I think, you know, I enjoyed a lot of the writing, the moment to moment, but ultimately I think the higher stakes of the story and the way it was portrayed meant that it felt like you had less of a connection to it. That said, I have put 70 hours into this video game, half of that last year in early access and half of that this, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. There is so much more, the epilogue, all the things going on afterwards. It's just fucking fantastic. It just feels incredible and looks amazing and is just the perfect thing to boot up on a Steam Deck or a Switch and just to lose an hour to. I think Hades 2 loses the impact of the first, but comes back with so much style and pizzazz that I can't help but fucking love it. Clare Obscura, number 2. There's a moment I think about with Expedition 33 where it's the end of Act 1 and a thing has happened, big thing has happened, and you go back to your beach area, your kind of like area where you're chilling, there's a fire, people are sitting around, and there's a record player there, and I turn on the record player and I play Lumiere, which is the opening track of the game. It's a track that you hear at the beginning, but I don't think really hits you until you play it later on in camp. And I would do this often. I would be at camp and I would just turn on the record player and play Lumiere. And I did that again in this moment after this thing had happened, and the music is playing, and there are a couple of characters sitting over by the edge looking out to the fucking paintress and the giant thing in the sky. And I just slowly walk. I just slowly walk with my character as Lumiere plays, and I thought, God damn, this is one of the most beautiful video games I've ever played. Number 1 is Hollow Knight Silksong. You know, sometimes you're playing a video game and you realize that it's one of the best things that has ever been made, and you sit there in quiet contemplation of the fact that humans actually made this. They had their brains, and inside it they had thoughts about a world, a space, about how it would sound, how it would feel, how it would create a sense of place, about how it would emerge as this fully formed idea. And you cannot help but be struck by awe and wonder. And that was Hollow Knight Silksong. I played this game and realized this is one of the best things that people have ever thought of and made in the history of humanity. And I think that's kind of startling, because there have been many things that people have made, and many of them are very good. And I think this is one of the best ones. And I think that something that we forget about sometimes is that video games are good. And this is one of the good ones. Thank you. There is a way in which going from one area of Silksong to the other is just so illustrative of this cohesion of the world, where sure, the Blaster's Steppes is next to Shellwood, and sure, Shellwood is next to Bellheart, and Bellheart is next to Greymoor, but the transition between those spaces and areas feels so elegant and true that it isn't just a map, it is a world, it is a space that you exist in, a place that these bugs live. The circumstances of Hollow Knight's creation are odd. Who else has 7 years to indulgently create, to make something and not have restraints placed upon you? And the answer is very few people, because that unfortunately is not the reality that most of us live in. But Team Cherry were able to, and I think what it shows us is, God, if we had a fucking world where people could. If we had a world where people were able to spend a decade of their lives without monetary worry to make something that they really wanted to make, what a fucking world we'd live in, you know? And so if there's anything I think Hollow Knight Silksong teaches us, it's that the government should give us all a bunch of fucking money and let's make what we want. Alright, that's it. Hi again. It's me. Thanks for watching the video. It's a mess. It's a disaster. It doesn't make any sense, probably, but I have been sick for about 10 days, and I would like to go lie down now. So I'll see you in 2026 with some more bullshit, I guess. Until then, thank you. Bye.